Breaking. The Warriors make a drastic rotation change. Immediate impact today. If you're a Warriors fan, take a deep breath. A drastic change in the rotation just came out at the last minute, and it could change today's game. If you've ever gotten irritated seeing choices that don't work, weird minutes, and that feeling of, why is Kerr doing this? I understand you. It gives the feeling that the team is sabotaging itself in detail. But don't worry. In this video, I'll show you what changed, why this decision happened now, and mainly how it impacts the Warriors' performance, who gains minutes, who loses space, and what this means for the result. Stay with me until the end, because there's a point that almost no one is noticing, and it could be the turning point we've been waiting for. Before I show you who gained minutes and who lost space, quickly, if you enjoy direct, no-nonsense content about Warriors and the NBA, subscribe to the channel now, because these last-minute changes happen out of nowhere, and I always bring them hot and explained. And leave a like, so I know you want more videos like this. It's literally what makes YouTube deliver to more fans. Activate the bell too, because when the next bomb drops, you will be one of the first to see it. Now I want you to participate. Comment on rotation if you think this change was necessary. And stay with me, because in the next section I will show you what changed in the rotation, the reason behind it, and the immediate impact on today's game. Let's do it. Sometimes, the most difficult decision is precisely the one that makes the most sense when you take the emotion out of the way and look at what is really happening. And that's exactly how I am today, trying to put everything involving the Golden State Warriors in order, feeling the weight of an uncomfortable phase, but at the same time understanding that certain changes are not only possible, they may be necessary. Welcome to Warriors Family TV. And I say family because that's exactly what it is. Here we live this team together, in the victories that become memories, and in the defeats that leave that question stuck in our throats. So, if you like content with context, analysis, and honest conversation, stay with me until the end, because what I'm going to share today has an immediate impact, not only on today's game, but on the direction this season could take. I need to start in a direct, blunt way. Look where we are. A team that marked an era, that redefined the way of playing basketball, that built a modern dynasty. And, even so, it goes through moments when it seems to look for its own reflection in the mirror. You look at the table and see a number that bothers you. You look at some games and think, this was supposed to be solved. You look at the sequence and feel that the team is always very close, but never comfortable. And for a franchise with the history of the Warriors, this weighs in a different way. The hardest thing is that it is not a simple pain, like, I was out of luck. It is a pain that mixes expectation and reality. Because when you have Stephen Curry still at an elite level, when you have Draymond Green as a competitive reference, when you have a coach like Steve Kerr, you don't go into a season hoping to just survive. You go in with the real hope of fighting. And that's where the fans' emotional toll becomes high. We know what this nucleus has already been capable of doing, and that's why the almost turns into frustration. And I'll tell you one thing with the utmost honesty. You can't pretend that everything is normal when the rotations don't seem consistent and when the roles don't seem clear. This wears down the team, wears out the fans, and above all creates a dangerous feeling that the Warriors are living from game to game without a defined path. And a team that wants to truly compete needs a backbone, a pattern, an identity, something that repeats itself even when the ball doesn't fall. Now, I want to get into the most delicate point of this video, and I'm going to ask you to follow me calmly, because I'm not here to create witch hunts. I'm not here to look for a single culprit. I'm here to understand what might be holding the team back and what might unlock it, especially when the basketball clock keeps ticking. One of the clearest signs that something is out of place is when there is a perception of a disconnect between the coaching staff and a young talent on the squad. And when we talk about it, it's impossible not to talk about Jonathan Kuminga. I've been following Kuminga since draft night. He's that type of player that you see for 2 minutes and understand. There is something special here. Outstanding athleticism, power, ability to attack the basket, defensive potential. The physical package and the promise of evolution were always on the table. And for that reason, what bothers him this season is less about his talent, because he has talent, and more about the fit, the moment. 2, the function, the consistency of minutes. Because a young player can make mistakes, he needs to make mistakes. It needs to go through phases. What he cannot do is live in an environment where each game seems like a different test, with no clarity as to what is being asked of him. And when clarity disappears, confidence goes with it. Then you start to see signs. Body language changes, rhythm changes, decision-making becomes more hasty. Not because he doesn't want to, but because he tries to find a place that is not well defined. On the other side, there is Steve Kerr. And I'm not going to downsize Kerr here, not for a second. Kerr is part of NBA history. He is a coach who has proven time and time again that he understands the game and understands the dressing room. But even the best coaches in the world face a challenge that doesn't appear on the drawing board, the challenge of timing. Sometimes a brilliant system and a talented player just don't sit well together at that particular moment. And that doesn't make anyone a villain. This just creates an uncomfortable question. What's best for the team right now, and what's best for the player right now? This is where I want to touch on the pain that many people feel, but don't always say out loud. Warriors fans experience conflict. At the same time as he wants to develop the new generation, he also knows that the window with Steph Curry is precious and will not come back. And this creates an emotional and strategic dilemma because development requires patience and competing requires urgency. And these two things don't always go together at the same pace. Then the talk about exchange starts to appear. And I know how that sounds to those who like Kuminga and see a great future in it. Exchange in this context looks like giving up. It feels like a break. It seems unfair. But I want to propose a colder and, at the same time, more human reading. Sometimes an exchange is not an end. Sometimes it's a fresh start. For the player, it could be the right environment. For the team, it could be the right piece. And for the Warriors at the moment, it could be the difference between being left in the middle of the road and breathing again as a real candidate. And before entering a specific scenario, I need to contextualize the environment. The West gives no respite. There is no easy night. You lose 2 games and the narrative changes. You get 3 and still have no comfort. Therefore, each decision weighs more. It's not just exchanging for the sake of exchanging. It's switching to solve clear problems. Spacing, shooting, rotation consistency, balance between offense and defense, and, perhaps most importantly, squad confidence. Now let's get to the point that many people have commented on, the possibility of the Warriors exploring a trade involving Kuminga to bring more ready-made pieces that fit the now. And one of the scenarios that circulates in this type of conversation, because it is plausible in terms of casting logic, involves the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm going to ask you, once again, to listen to the end before deciding whether you love or hate this path. Because what matters here is not winning an argument. What matters is answering a simple question. Does this improve the Warriors within the current reality? The idea, in general terms, would be to send Kuminga and receive something along the lines of Rui Hachimura, Dalton Knecht, a young pitcher, and a future first-round pick. And I can already imagine the fan reacting. What do you mean by exchanging a young man with star potential for a package? I understand. But the package, if well thought out, is not just anything. It could be an identity adjustment. Let's talk about Hachimura first. Rui is a player who, within the right profile, can be extremely useful. He has size, he has strength, he can score without having to monopolize the ball, and, above all, he can work as a player that doesn't break the system. He doesn't need to be the protagonist. He can be the guy who does the silent work, cuts at the right time, finishes, gets rebounds, positions himself, helps defensively, and, when the ball comes free, has the ability to punish. And the Warriors often live on gravity. Curry's gravity opens up space. The gravity of the system creates throws. The Warriors need people to convert these spaces. And when I say fit, I'm talking about this. Players who don't slow down, who don't require a reconstruction of the attack, but who add up. A competitive squad isn't just made up of stars. It is made of pieces that support the identity when the game gets tough. Now, about Knecht. He enters a different place in this conversation because he would not be the savior. He would be a developmental investment with a trait the Warriors value highly, shooting. And in a team that, at various times, seems to struggle to maintain space and punish defenses that close the box, having another option with real range can make a difference. But he's inconsistent. Yes, young people are. The question is, can the Warriors create context for him to have better shots, and with that, accelerate his adaptation? The attention Curry attracts is not the norm, AL. She creates opportunities that other teams cannot produce with the same frequency. And the first-round pick comes in as a strategic element. Flexibility. It can be a piece for the future. It can be currency for another exchange. It can be a store of value. In a league where movements change quickly, having assets means having options, and the Warriors can't afford to run out of options as they try to compete. But I want to be very honest here. The trade only makes sense if we agree on one central point. That, at this moment, the Warriors need pieces that will help the team to be more stable immediately. Because the big problem today is not a lack of raw talent. It's a lack of coherence. It's like the team is always adjusting along the way, and that takes a toll. So let's imagine what this kind of change does, in paper and in feeling. On paper, the Warriors gain a player more ready to play a clear role, gain additional shooting potential, and gain a draft asset. In feeling, the Warriors accept that Kuminga's development is not matching Curry's urgency, and that hurts, because no one wants to give up potential. But I ask you directly, what is more painful? Trade a young talent and try to rebalance the roster, or look back 2 years from now and feel like Curry's final peak was wasted due to indecision? I don't say this to dramatize. I speak because the NBA is cruel with time. The window does not warn you when it is going to close. It just closes, and when you realize it, it's already too late. Now, I want to bring this conversation to an even more human level, because this is where a lot of cold analysis fails. We talk about exchange as if it were a video game, but it's people. Kuminga feels it too. He also notices when he is being pushed into a place that is not comfortable. He also has ambition. He wants to grow. He wants minutes. He wants responsibility. And if the current environment doesn't clearly offer this, perhaps a new context would be better for it. And when I say better, I'm not saying easy. I'm saying adequate. Likewise, the coaching staff is also under pressure. Kerr is not making decisions to please the social network. He's trying to win games. And when the team needs to win, the coach tends to trust more in those who deliver predictability. This is natural, but this choice, repeated many times, can create a fracture with the young person who needs space to make mistakes and learn. And this fracture, when it grows, becomes noise. So, the drastic change in rotation is not just about changing who enters first or who closes the game. It's about establishing a hierarchy, building trust, reducing doubt, and getting everyone on track. And if the Warriors need to change important pieces to do so, this possibility needs to be on the table, even if it hurts. Now, if you ask me, does this guarantee a title? I would be dishonest if I said yes. No exchange guarantees title. What a trade can do is increase the likelihood that the Warriors will be more functional, more balanced, and more dangerous when it comes time for the big games. And for me, that is the criteria. It's not sure, it's probability. And look what changes when the rotation becomes clearer. You reduce moments in which the attack stalls because no one knows where the ball will end up. You reduce possessions where the defense is lost because the combinations change too much. You help the team create habits. And basketball, after all, is a sport of habits. Great teams repeat good things under pressure. And to repeat, you need pattern. I also want to talk to you who are on the other side and think, but I like Kuminga. I would like to see him succeed here. I wanted it too. And I still think it can work in many scenarios. But the work out needs to match the main question. Do the Warriors want to be a development team or an immediate contender team? And maybe the real answer is, you want to be both. But being both at the same time, at the same volume, is very difficult. Therefore, when I look at this moment, I see a crossroads. On the one hand, hold on to the young person, try to repair the relationship, stabilize the minutes, and accept ups and downs. On the other, adjust the cast with more ready-made pieces and try to regain consistency now. No path is perfect, but one of them talks more to Curry's watch. And that's where I return to the phrase from the beginning. Sometimes, the most difficult decision is the one that makes the most sense. Now I want you to think with me about something practical. If this swap happened, or if a strong rotation change happened even without a swap, what would you expect to see immediately? For me, 3 things. A more defined role for each important player. Who starts, who closes, who leads the second unit. More reliable shooting around Curry, because no defense can be comfortable doubling down and recovering. Less improvisation, and more repeating training that works. Even if they are not the prettiest, they need to be efficient. If the Warriors achieve this, the team will change levels without having to reinvent basketball. And from then on, you start to see another attitude. More control, less desperation, more consistency in the fourth quarter, which is where many games are decided. I know this type of conversation stirs emotions. Because we create bonds with young players, we create hope. We imagine the future. But I also know that the Warriors are no ordinary franchise. It is a franchise that has lived at the top. And those who lived at the top know how to recognize when the standard has fallen. And when it falls, you either accept it and reconfigure it, or you become a spectator of the story itself. So let me ask you the question that really matters. And I want you to answer in the comments as if you were talking to me here, face to face. Would you be willing to see the Warriors give up Kuminga's potential if it means putting together a more functional squad now to maximize what's still elite in Curry and more? If you wouldn't agree, what's the plan? Because not exchanging is also a decision, and every decision has a cost. I will close with a commitment to you who follow Warriors Family TV. I will continue to provide analysis with respect for the team, respect for the players, and respect for the intelligence of those who watch. No gratuitous exaggeration, no empty promises. We may disagree, but we will disagree with argument, with logic, and with love for the Warriors. If this video helped you see the scenario in a clearer way, leave a like. This strengthens the channel and makes this content reach more fans who are also trying to understand what is happening. Subscribe to Warriors Family TV and activate the bell so you don't miss the next updates, because these next days and weeks can bring movements that change everything very quickly. And now I pass the buck to you. Change Kuminga, adjust the rotation, and try to save the relationship? Or do you keep it as it is and bet that the team is alone? I want to read your opinion and above all understand your reasoning. The dynasty is not a distant memory. It still has living echoes. But to stay alive, the Warriors need to choose a path, and choose with courage. See you in the next video. And that's exactly why I say, from now on, every decision weighs as if it were a playoff. It's not just about changing the rotation or thinking about exchange. It's about choosing once and for all whether the Warriors will continue skating along the way or whether they will press the button that changes the season. Because one thing I know for sure, time doesn't wait. And when you have a player like Steph Curry still at an elite level, you have no right to watch the clock tick without taking action. Either the Warriors find an identity now with clear roles and rotations that make sense, or we will look back and feel like we missed a chance that won't come back. So I want you to do the following. Don't end it with me here. If you want to understand the complete scenario, logically, without guesswork, and see all the analyses I am doing step by step, go to the pinned comment and click on the Warriors Analysis playlist. I left everything organized there for you to marathon and follow the evolution of this story in the right way. And while you go to the playlist, comment below. Would you change Kuminga? Yes or no? And why? I will read the comments because Warriors Family's opinion matters. Now click on the Warriors Analyzes playlist in the pinned comment, because the next video could change everything, and you'll want to be in the know before everyone else.